On June the 21st, 2008, the National Hot Rod Association SuperNationals at the Old Bridge Township Raceway in Englishtown, New Jersey, became the scene of one of the most tragic events in drag racing history. Scott Kalita, a respected figure in the sport and a two-time NHRA Top Fuel champion, was participating in the qualifying rounds of the event when disaster struck. During his final qualifying attempt, Kalita's car experienced a catastrophic engine failure that triggered a massive fire which led to a fatal turn of events. This horrific disaster would become a catalyst in sparking significant changes in drag racing protocols, but what exactly happened that day? Let's talk about it. This is the infamous death of Scott Kalita. Scott Kalita was born on February the 18th, 1962 in Mount Clemens, Michigan. He was the son of a legendary drag racer and team owner Connie Kalitta, often referred to as the Bounty Hunter. Scott grew up surrounded by the world of drag racing, as his father was a prominent figure in the sport. His cousin, Doug Kalita, is also a well-known driver. This close-knit family connection to motorsport heavily influenced Scott's early interest in racing. His professional racing career began in 1982. While he initially focused on the Top Fuel class, his first NHRA event victory came in a funny car race in 1989. He later achieved the pinnacle of his career in the mid-1990s, when he won back-to-back NHRA Top Fuel championships in 1994 and 1995. He was particularly renowned for his ability to perform consistently under pressure, becoming the first Top Fuel driver to win 4 consecutive events during his 1994 championship season. Over his career, he earned 18 NHRA event wins across both Top Fuel and funny car categories, cementing his legacy as one of the top drivers. Outside of racing, Scott was known for his generosity and his down-to-earth personality. He and his father often helped struggling teams by lending or donating parts, and even entire cars. He was also a dedicated family man. He lived in Florida with his wife Kathy and their 2 sons Colin and Corey, whom he loved dearly. Scott Kalita stepped away from professional drag racing in the late 1990s, citing a desire to spend more time with his family. Drag racing is an intense and demanding sport, and Scott prioritised his family life during this period after dedicating most of his life to racing. For several years, he focused on his personal life and business interests outside of the sport. However, Scott never lost his passion for racing. In 2003, he made the decision to return to the NHRA circuit because he missed the adrenaline and competition that came with the sport. Upon his return, Scott shifted his focus to the funny car class, bringing his career full circle to the category in which he had first achieved NHRA success in 1989. In the years leading up to his final race, Scott remained a key figure in racing. He joined his father's team, Kalitta Motorsports, further strengthening their family legacy in the sport. Despite facing stiff competition, Scott managed to score significant wins in funny car events and remained a fan favourite. This brings us to the 2008 Lucas Oil NHRA SuperNationals, which unfortunately will forever be remembered for capturing one of the most terrifying videos in motorsport history. The 2008 Lucas Oil NHRA SuperNationals at the Old Bridge Township Raceway in Englishtown was a key event on the National Hot Rod Association calendar. The race featured competition in multiple categories, including the Premier Top Fuel and Funny Car classes, both of which are known for their high speeds and intense competition. Scott Kalita, driving his DHL-sponsored Toyota Solara Funny Car, was competing in the Funny Car category. These cars are distinct from Top Fuel dragsters as they feature a shorter wheelbase, enclosed body resembling production cars, and produce roughly 10,000 horsepower. Funny cars accelerate to over 300 miles per hour in under 4 seconds, making them one of the most challenging vehicles to pilot. Scott was participating in the qualifying rounds, which determined the 16-car field for the elimination rounds on race day. During qualifying, drivers attempt multiple runs down the quarter-mile track to achieve the fastest elapsed time. Their best elapsed time during the sessions determines their position on the elimination ladder, with lower elapsed time securing higher seeds. That day, Scott was attempting to improve his position in the qualifying order as he sought to secure a competitive placement for the elimination rounds. That day was June the 21st, 2008, and as stated previously, he was driving a Toyota Solara Funny Car, designed to exceed speeds of 300 miles per hour in under 4 seconds. During his fourth and final qualifying attempt of the day, Scott Kalita's car experienced a catastrophic engine failure near the finish line. The explosion led to a series of critical failures in the car's systems, and it was all caught on camera. The force of the explosion caused a massive fire that engulfed the vehicle, critically damaging the parachute deployment system. Without the parachutes to slow him down, Scott's funny car continued at an uncontrollable speed past the finish line. The vehicle breached the concrete retaining wall going over it and collided with heavy equipment positioned outside the runoff zone by the ESPN crew. The crash caused severe damage, tearing apart the engine and the chassis. The largest section of the vehicle landed 250 feet south of the shutdown area. The crash subjected Scott to massive blunt force trauma. His car eventually came to a stop and he was taken from the wreckage by the safety crews and transported to Raritan Bay Medical Center. Despite his efforts, Scott passed away and his injuries were described as unsurvivable. According to individuals present, Kalita's car exploded into flames around the 1,000 foot mark during his qualifying run, immediately engulfing the funny car in fire and smoke. One attendee recalled seeing the car lose control, with the parachute system failing to deploy as it barreled past the finish line at full throttle. Members of the racing community were deeply shaken by the event. A fellow racer described the crash as every driver's worst nightmare, highlighting the extreme danger inherent in such a high-speed motorsport competition. The investigation into Scott Kalita's crash during the 2008 SuperNationals brought to light several critical factors contributing to the tragedy. Mechanical failures were at the heart of the incident. The explosion of Kalita's engine at around 300 miles per hour triggered a fire that damaged vital systems, including the parachute mechanism needed to slow the car. Funny cars, including Kalita's Toyota Solara, are powered by highly volatile nitromethane fuel, which is prone to catastrophic explosions when things go wrong. According to the investigation, the engine in the car suffered a major internal failure, which caused a fire and triggered the explosion. Toxicology reports also revealed that there was trace of alcohol in Kalita's system, equivalent to a blood alcohol content of 0.02%. Experts determined that this did not play a role in the crash, however, as it was too low to impair his performance and could have resulted from post-mortem factors. The focus of the inquiry remained firmly on the mechanical and structural aspects of the incident. The NHRA took swift action following Kalita's death. One of the most notable changes was the shortening of race distances of Top Fuel and funny car classes from 1,320 feet to 1,000 feet. This was intended to reduce the speeds that the cars reached by the end of the track, allowing for a longer shutdown area and improving the likelihood that drivers could slow down safely. The move was part of a broader push to enhance the safety of drivers and reduce the likelihood of crashes involving excessive speed, which could overwhelm existing safety infrastructure. Additionally, they made improvements to track safety. For example, the layout of the track barriers, safety nets, and the placement of equipment at the end of the track were reassessed and redesigned to minimise the chances of such a fatal accident. Other changes included upgrades to the fire suppression systems in cars and reinforcement of vehicle structures to better withstand high-speed impacts. Scott's tragic death brought renewed attention to the risks that drivers in drag racing face, and his family, including his father Connie Kalita and cousin, continued to carry on the Kalita Motorsports legacy. Doug Kalita, a successful driver in his own right, paid tribute to his cousin by continuing to race in the sport. Kalita's family in the Kalita Motorsport team also used the tragedy to further promote safety awareness in motorsport. His contributions and the lessons learned from his passing continue to impact the sport of drag racing to this day. Scott was buried at the Skyway Memorial Gardens in Florida. May he rest in peace. As always, this is not an AI channel, I do everything myself, and if you appreciate my work, subscribe, and if you want to go the extra step to support the channel, maybe consider becoming a member. The footage of this accident is absolutely crazy. Let me know what you think about this case in the comments below, and as always, thank you for watching.